Good morning people, and welcome to another video of Programmer's Corner. In this video we'll talk about how to compare two strings in Java. So if you look at the current example, these are our test cases. So I have this string here, this string with A, E, E, D, F, 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 and then this string AA. So we're going to write our own CompareTo method, and we'll try to emulate it as much as possible to the actual CompareTo method that the string class in Java has. So to begin with, the function CompareTo returns an integer value in the following cases. If the first string is strictly smaller than the second string, then it returns a negative value. If it's equal, well, it should return, okay, if it's equal, it returns a 0. And if A is greater than B, then it returns a 1. So how would we do it? So initially, to begin with, we first have to take into consideration the sizes of these two strings. So if you look at this place, the size of this string is larger than the size of this string, so we only have to iterate through these two strings. If there is a mismatch here, then I can say that whichever is the smaller is smaller than the other one. So let's say if there is a capital A and there is a small a, then I can say that this string is smaller than this string because the ASCII value of capital A is 65 and the ASCII value of small a is 97. So let's try to run this. First program this and then run this. So to begin with, we first have to take into consideration the lengths. If the length of A is smaller than the length of B, then I do a certain thing. I'll take this on the second line. Else if A is greater than B, then I do a certain thing. Else I know that they both are same, so now I just have to iterate through the entire string. So for int I equals to 0, I is less than 8 of length, and I plus plus. So this is what it does. It compares that I have to take each character of A and compare it with each character of B. Well, based on the indexes. So character at I for A, if this thing is smaller than the character at I, then I basically return -1, because as I said, A is smaller than B, A is smaller than B, then I return -1. But else if its character of I is greater than of I, then I have to return 1, because I need to return, because eventually I'm gonna have the same character. I'm gonna basically say that A is greater than B, since I found a character which is larger than this character. Now I'm not gonna have an else statement, because if the characters are same, I'm just gonna go until the end of the string. And here, if I did not find any characters that are of the chart, so for example, if you take this example, I have AA and AA. So in this case, well, this is not going to execute in this case. Yeah, this is going to execute in this case. So C and D, if I take RAT, I pass it in A, and RATTATA as I pass it in B, I can say that A is strictly lesser than B. In this case, C is strictly lesser than D. So I can start from iterating through C, and I see R is equal to R, A is equal to A, and T is equal to T. but still, since they are the same, I just go on iterating and I see that, well, D is bigger. In this case, B is actually bigger than A, so there is no way this is going to be larger than this. So at the end of this, statement, I just say return -1, because A is greater than B is greater than A in length. For here I do the exact same thing, but instead I return the other things around. Instead of -1, I return 1, because if A is greater than, well, I also need B in this case, because I have to compare it with B's. In this case, if that's the case, I go on and I keep on returning. Return is, so it iterates through each and every character. In this case, the first example is perfect because we see AA and AA are the same, but the length of A is greater, so it's A is by default bigger than B by length. It's not by the characters in this case. Well, it's by the number of characters in this case, not by the amount, the value of the character, the ASCII value of that character. So in this case, I can say that if length of A is bigger than that, and if I didn't find any mismatch, then I can just say that A is greater than B by default. And in this case, it's the same thing, but at the end we return a 0. We basically return a 0 because, well, we found that both the characters are the same. In this case, we don't even need to return anything here because the 0 automatically gets returned at the end of this function. So let's see what happens. Let's see if it runs, and in this case it doesn't matter because the length of both of those are equal. So in this case, this should have a positive value. This should give me 1. This should give me -1. This thing should give me -1, and, well, I think it should give me -1. Yes, the thing should give me -1, and this thing should give me a 0. Let's see if it works. And so this thing is giving me a 1. Let's see where we made a mistake. So we made a mistake somewhere, and we have to find it. So how about we try to see which function it comes out of. Well, this is a, well, you know, we should try debugging it. That's the best way. So I'll put a debugger here and I debug. So now it came here. It's going to go to CompareTo function, and it's going to come here. It's going to check the length. So let's say, what's the length of this? Oh, well, it's not greater, it's not that, so it's going to be here. It's going to see I. It's going to take the first element, which is a dot character at I is going to be F. It's not greater, it's not less. It's going to go to the next element. That's oh well, I made a mistake in making a test case. If you see, this should be T, not R. So now it's going to work perfectly. So our case was working perfectly fine. It's going to give us a 0. So if we remove these, it should be 1 minus 1 minus 1 0, because that's greater. Since the ASCII value of C is smaller than the ASCII value of small c, the ASCII value of capital C is smaller than the ASCII value of small c, this is smaller than this, and it's the same thing. So now let's try to use the same system in the actual Java string function. Let's see if we actually did overwrite it. denote that. So we have e dot compare to f, and at the end we have g dot compare to h. So now let's see if it gives me the same values. Well, actually it does, but okay, so let me explain how it works in this case. So when you look at the 7 here, it basically shows the offset of how many elements, how many characters this character is off by. So these two strings are off by. So if you look at these two, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So these two are off by positive 7. So this second string is, the first string is actually larger than the second string. The same thing goes with here. This thing is off by negative 4. So this thing is actually falling short by 4 characters of the second string. Same thing with the cotton one. With the third one, our thing returns -1 because this one is smaller than that. But if you look at the difference between these two, like let's say C is what? C is 67 and the small capital C is 67, I guess, and small c is 99. So yeah, we are off by 32. So these two are actually off by 32. And if you look at this, well, they both are the same. So well, it does not. So what Java compares to does is it takes the character that's off by each other, that's not the same, and it then finds the ASCII difference between those two. So if C in this case is capital, its ASCII value is 67, and this thing's ASCII value is 99, if I'm not wrong, then 67 minus 99 gives you a negative value, which is this. Here, no matter what the ASCII value of this is, the difference is always going to be 0 throughout. And that's what the CompareTo function for Java returns. It returns the difference of the ASCII value of the two characters. In this case, it's 0. So this was the whole video of how the Java CompareTo function works and how the one that we wrote works. So if you liked it, please comment, subscribe and share this video. Thank you for watching.